back. The wine keys everywhere. It's already up here. Yes, good night. Thanks for joining. If you are going to stick around, I'm here. What am I drinking? So I like Italian wine. So Chianti and Prosecco are my favorite. So I am drinking a Chianti Classico tonight. So what questions do you guys have? How do you deal with a partner that refuses to express what they need from you? How do you know that you're not already meeting their needs? The reflection question for next week will be posted on Sunday and emailed on Sunday. All you drink is Stella. Oh, we're going to have to work on that. We're going to have to work on it. Not Stella. Even if you're going to drink sweet wine, there's so much better quality sweet wine than Stella. How do you deal with somebody that chooses to lie to you when you already know the truth? Don't ask questions that you know the answers to. A lot of times we ask questions when we already know the answer. And what it does is it gives people the opportunity to explain away things. So I'll give you an example. Yeah. Wine is like everything to me. Not too much on your Stella. I'm going to give y'all some recommendations. We got to do something better than Stella, y'all. Please. I don't even drink sweet wine. But if I give y'all, hey, Nicole. If I give y'all some recommendations, will you at least try something other than Stella? Please. I drink dry wine, yes. Yes, I will give y'all recommendations. Not no Stella, please. Not no Stella. I told you, well, I don't know if y'all were here earlier. So I also own a wine education company. And we do wine tours and wine tastings, wine socials in the DC area. Yeah, not Stella. I'm gonna give y'all something better. Okay, let me go back to my question. What question was I answering? Oh, about asking questions that you know the answer to. So I was working with a client, and she was in a situationship. The guy that she was in a situationship with, she saw his stories one day. He was on vacation, clearly with another woman. Okay. When he came back, she asked him about it. And so I said, well, why did you ask him? She was like, so he's just not going to tell me? If y'all are in a situationship, what is it that you wanted him to tell you? So she said she finally asked him, like, well, who were you on vacation with? And I said, help me understand. What is it that you wanted him to say? Y'all in a situationship, he's not going to tell you, yeah, I'm hitting somebody else. Even though you know that's what the situation is, but you mind your business, I mind my business, we do what we do and we together, right? That was their arrangement. And so I'm asking her, well, why are you asking him this? You knew the answer. He posted a video or whatever he posted. It was clear that he was on vacation with a woman. And so what I had to explain to her, I said, you're asking questions, hoping that he explains away what he did. You're giving him the opportunity to explain it. You want him to say that was my cousin? And you'd be like, okay. Don't ask questions you know the answers to. You want him to explain it away. Why are you giving him that opportunity? You saw what you saw. Now you have to decide, what do you do about it? If anything. Because like I said, they were in a situationship. So, I mean, there was nothing to do. Like, she wasn't necessarily upset. Like, she knew that what the situation was. Oh, we can for sure do a wine tasting in DC. You let me know when. I'm always down to drink wine. I have people at my house all the time. I got to get some other wine for y'all, though. Y'all not about to come in here and waste my wine. So I'll have to get some other wine first. So situationships, I think they're dangerous when people are not honest with themselves. Are they blocking our messages? I don't know. So let me tell you, Stella is not allowed in my house. Barefoot is not allowed in my house. I'm just... How do you not shut down when your partner isn't giving you emotional fulfillment? What does emotional fulfillment look like? What does that mean? See, this is why I don't really like TikTok. Like, I like to get in y'all business. I need to be able to ask y'all questions. What does hey, Chris Lorraine, what does emotional fulfillment look like when you say you're not getting it? Is it that he is not acknowledging your emotions? He's not opening up emotional. Oh, I can't show my wine. Okay. So I'm supposed to drink it. So explaining. He always wants to explain when you tell him about his behavior. That's because you're not supposed to focus on his behavior. And I made a video about this, when you talk about somebody's actions or their behavior, they're going to want to justify it. That's not what you want to talk about. You want to focus on how the behavior makes you feel. Because if I say, yo, like, you don't never help around the house, I'm tired of doing everything. I'm tired. I work a lot. I did help you last week. That doesn't help the conversation. Versus if you say, hey, I feel overwhelmed because I've had to clean up all week by myself. Now we could talk about you being overwhelmed and we can come up with a solution together about being overwhelmed. But whenever you talk about somebody's actions, they're going to get defensive. They're going to want to talk, want to explain. And so it's a natural thing. So what you do is you focus on how it makes you feel, because you don't care really what they did. It's how it made you feel that's important. So, I mean, it's a lot harder to if I say, all right, let's stick with the whole cleaning thing. You don't help clean up. I do everything around the house. I do everything with the kids, okay? No, you don't. I changed little JoJo's diaper yesterday. No, you don't. Or I'm tired too. Versus, hey, I feel overwhelmed because I'm doing so much in the house. What's to justify? I'm talking about how I feel. It doesn't really... You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't go. If I'm saying how I feel and, there's nothing for them to justify. I'm talking about how I feel. I feel this because of this situation. Can you help me with the house? Can we talk about how house stuff is distributed? So this whole thing about narcissists. So this is one topic that is misused, overly used, overly simplified. Narcissism is actually a mental health diagnosis. In order to technically to be considered a narcissist, you have to be diagnosed by a therapist, a psychiatrist, like the real definition. What people are calling narcissists are just people that just have not grown. Immature people that don't want to. When I ask, well, what's your example? Why are you calling him a narcissist? It's not like usually narcissists truly cannot help making it about them. Everybody is not a narcissist. I know it's a thing to call everybody a narcissist. No, this person is just selfish. Right? They're selfish. Right? And so it depends on which aspect or how you are dealing with this type of person in terms of how, I would move forward with them. But just for an example, let's say, if somebody does not, they don't want to acknowledge something that you're saying, or you say, hey, I feel this way, and they bring up something that's completely different. We're going to spend a whole lot of time on communication and conflict, but since you asked the question, what my favorite thing to do is, because let me tell y'all something, a lot of people got comprehension issues. I think the average person, like the average American, only reads at like an 8th grade reading level. So there are a lot of people out here that have comprehension issues. This is why some of you have conflict in your relationship, because they just can't comprehend. Right? And so it is what it is. Like, you marry Ting Ting, you with Ting Ting, this is your person. We got to deal with it. Right? And so in those situations, one of the things that I have, like, tips for days. One of the things that I like to do, if I say something and their response is not even, I ask them, what did you hear me say? Because what? What did you hear me say? And this is one guy that likes to argue with me on Instagram. And so he sends me stuff all the time, or we have conversation, and it's so scary because he's married now. He wasn't married when we first started having these conversations, and he's married now. And he's starting to grow up. But I just be looking at the messages like, that has nothing to do with, like, what? How did you get, like, what did you hear me say? Because that ain't it. And then I explain it, and then he gets quiet, and he won't talk to me for like days after I explain the situation, or I explain why his thinking is toxic and wrong. Like, one time when he was still dating a girl, he sent me a video, something about women being in competition because there's more women than men. And my response was, I'm not in competition with anybody. I can't be concerned about what other women are doing. Only thing I can do is be the best version of me and hope that we choose each other. And he was like, what? My girl's in competition. And I said, I really hope you don't make her feel like she's in competition with anybody, because that's really effed up. I can't live my life concerned about what the next woman is going to do. It's always going to be somebody better. It's always going to be somebody cuter. It's going to be somebody freakier. It's going to be... And I'm not about to drive myself crazy with it. Either you want me or you don't. Not to say that I'm not going to do my best, because I am. But I can only be me. And he was like, I said, did you tell her that she's in competition with other people? And he said, yeah. I said, child. I said, that's really fucked up. I'm sorry. That's really messed up for you to tell her that. But yeah, so that's one of my favorite. What did you hear me say? Is one of my tips when I'm clearly having a conversation with somebody that is and if I realize that they are committed to just not understanding, I don't even waste my time. I don't waste my time. My life is very drama free. I live in a house. It's me and Bentley in a house. And if you're going to be in my life, you got to be a positive addition. What about manipulation? So manipulation has to start with you. You have to be confident enough so that you are not manipulated. They can't manipulate you if you are confident, if you have a good sense of self-awareness, you understand what it is you're feeling and why. You cannot be manipulated. You are manipulated when you lack the self-confidence. You're manipulated when you don't have the self-awareness. So immature parents is I think I have the same approach regardless of who the person is. It's like, do you have to engage with this person? Right? And if the answer is yes, right, figure out how to do it in a way that doesn't bring you drama or it doesn't trigger you. Like after a while, I'm just not going to put myself in certain situations. OMG, is it really that serious? They going to turn it off? I'm grown. I didn't know that was a thing. So I got ADHD too. And so what I do is you got to tell me what the issue is up front. And if the people don't tell me, that's when I stop them. Like, am I just listening? Am I answering questions? Like, you got to let me know up front. Let me know where this conversation is going, because otherwise I'm lost 2 minutes in a conversation. And mine is untreated at the moment. How do you identify the what you're holding on to from past trauma? So I would start with, so journaling has always been really big for me. Even if it's just a brain dump for 10 minutes a day. And then what I did was I started to see patterns, right? I would think that, oh, I think it's this. But the more I wrote, I would see the real issues, right? And then I would ask, like, why am I holding on to this? Why is this still a thing for me? Do I feel like I was owed an apology and I didn't get it? Do I feel disappointed? Did I have expectations that people did not meet? Expectations is another thing that gets you in trouble. You can't have you have to accept people for who they are. And then you get to decide whether or not they deserve to be in your life. And I know that is sometimes easier said than done, depending on who the person is. But as you get older, you get to dictate. Relationships are optional as an adult. And anybody you allow to be in your life should be a positive addition. I am big on protecting my peace. You can't come over here with all that. I don't do it. I don't fight and argue with my friends. I'm for sure not going to fight and argue with somebody's son. It's hard to accept people for who they are when they won't do the same for you. Can you give me some more? How do you work on codependency in relationships, specifically anxious attachments? Okay, so if you have to understand where this comes from, right? So if you guys aren't again, my book is packed up. Have you read the book Sinsley Quinn? Have you read the book Attached? So if you guys are not familiar, your attachment style or the attachment theory is this idea that we form relationships as an adult based on how we were cared for as a child, right? So if your parents were always there, you didn't have to worry. They showed up when they said they were going to show up. As an adult, you likely have what they call a secure attachment style, and that's how you form relationships as an adult. If as a child your parents were not there when they said they were, you didn't feel like you can count on your parents, as an adult you have what you consider an anxious attachment style, and so you try to grasp on and hold on tight, right? You have an anxious attachment style when you have a need for constant reassurance. I have an example. I told you I'm all about transparency, right? I had met this guy, and something was, I'll just tell you guys the story. I had met this guy. We were supposed to go out on a Friday. Friday morning, I found out that my dad was in the hospital, got admitted to the hospital. And so I texted him, hey, can we reschedule? I just found out my dad is in the hospital. I need to go to Philly. So he said, first he wrote, sorry to hear that, of course. His next message was, if I don't hear from you again, good luck. Okay, fine, no problem. Cool, whatever. We rescheduled. I think we went out Sunday or Saturday. Whatever, sometime fast forward, I talked to him on his way home from work. We hung up because I think I got another call. I'll talk to you later. I think I went to sleep. So my phone is also always on Do Not Disturb. I think my phone is on Do Not Disturb probably 20 of the 24 hours out of a day. But whatever. So he called me that night. I was asleep and my phone was on Do Not Disturb. I woke up to 5 missed phone calls and 2 text messages. Text message says, hey, you okay? Are you still interested? And so he has an anxious attachment. I had already identified that he has an anxious attachment style based on his relationship with his mother. He did not have a relationship with his mother. Grew up in, not really in foster care, but no relationship with his mom growing up. I picked up on that earlier. I said, hey, you have an anxious attachment style. And so the need to be reassured that I was still interested because I did not answer the phone when he called me 5 times and texted me 2 times between, my phone goes on Do Not Disturb at 10 o'clock. So this is from between 10 o'clock to, I don't know, I woke up at like 8 something. He had called 5 times and texted me twice. And so I'm like, this is an example, because he didn't believe me about the whole attachment style thing. I'm like, this is an example of your anxious attachment style. The need to be reassured that I'm still interested because I did not answer when you called me 5 times. I've only known you since Friday. It's Tuesday, sir. Okay? So that's an example of an anxious attachment style. And so I think you have to understand what makes you anxious, right? And it's going to be different for everybody, right? Just some examples, right? You could be anxious because you do not believe that somebody can actually like you. You could be anxious because this person has not affirmed you, right? And so being affirmed and feeling secure in a relationship is something that everybody needs. People that are anxious need it a little bit more, right? And so if you have an anxious attachment style, I think one thing that you can do is, one, you have to work on it yourself. But you also have to think about what you need to feel secure in this relationship, in any relationship. Okay? This book is called Attached. This is like one of my favorite books. And I think I let somebody borrow it and I have not gotten it back. And now I can't think about who. Let me see if I could turn this around. I can't think about who I let hold it. This one is like one of my favorite books. Like, got it. You just finished reading. Like, this is like one of my favorite books, like ever. I'll put together a book list of like my favorite books, and then I actually have a book list from one of my therapist friends that she uses with her clients. But yeah, Attachment Styles is like it's called Attached is the book. I'll put together a book list. Yeah. And so there's actually like there's an assessment in the book, but it should be like a free assessment online that you can take to learn your attachment style. Anxious and avoidant shouldn't date each other, but I mean, you can make anything work if you're aware of it. But anxious and because avoidant obviously feels like being in a relationship is like smothering and they're losing their independence, which is not necessarily true. But if you have an anxious attachment style, anxious and avoidant are going to have issues. Not that they can't work, they're going to have issues though. And they are actually the two that meet up often because you're anxious, you end up being single a lot more. Same thing with avoidant. You feel like a relationship is smothering, so you end up single a lot more. So they are more likely to be together. Mm-hmm. Yep. They find their way because they're most likely to be single. When you have a secure attachment style, you usually are better at building longer term relationships. Yes, this is the first class. So I don't think it's about commonality. I think it's about how you were raised. It's based on how you were raised. That is not about what's more common. It's about how you were raised. Yes, it's possible to go from anxious to secure. Because yes, it starts with how you were raised by your parents, but it can also be influenced by your relationship styles or your relationship experiences. So just because you're anxious, if you happen to meet somebody that is secure, you're likely it'll calm down your nervous system and you'll be more comfortable with it. So when you have an anxious attachment style or an avoidant attachment style, those are the two that are more likely to be single. Right? Avoidants are single because they feel like being in a relationship is smothering. And anxious people tend to be single more often because they do stuff like the guy that I explained, and now I don't want to talk to you anymore. And so they are more likely to be single. And I'm not even an avoidant. I'm definitely a secure attachment style. But I had already and I actually tried to avoid it, right? I ignored, because I had already told him about his anxious attachment style. I picked up on it from the first day when he told me, if I don't talk to you again, good luck. So I picked up on it. And so I do my best to use my coaching skills when I meet somebody. I hate it when I have to, but I will, right? To give somebody a fair chance, I will use my skills. And it was something else that he said, and it made me ask him. I said, he's anxious. What's your relationship with your mom? And he just looked at me like, what made you ask me that? I'm good at what I do this. Like, I'm good at what I do. And that person, that was a whole that whole situation. Like, and I will tell you, I admit, when I should not have talked to him after the very first conversation. I really try to give people a chance. My friend's like, oh, you so tough on people and da-da-da-da-da. And so sometimes I was like, let's just have one more conversation. I should have hung up after the first conversation, y'all. First conversation, and I'm being completely transparent with y'all. He asking me, like, I hate feeling like I'm in an interview. So he asking me all of the what's your love language? Like, I hate these questions. So he like, what's your love language? So mind you, we've been on the phone for 37 seconds at this point. I said, physical touch. I hate the question. I don't think it's helpful, but whatever. Physical touch. And he's like, well, what kind of touch? And so now he getting like explicit, asking me certain type of questions. Or do you like this? Do you like... I'm not asking these questions. Like, I'm not answering these questions because now he's asking sexual questions. Sir, we've been on the phone for 1 minute and 34 seconds. You got to relax. We was on for 1 minute and 33 at that point. By 2 minutes, I knew that he wanted to try some things that I was not with. Like, exactly, what's your last name? Don't tell me that you want... I'm not going to say all that, but it was just, I should have hung up at that point, and I didn't. I didn't. I should have hung up. And I'm like, so I'm trying to be nice and avoid avoid the questions. Like, I really try to reject people nicely. Like, oh, I'm trying to change the subject. Sir, I don't want to talk about sex. How many times a week? What, sir? I don't want to have this conversation. Why? It's too premature. And I have very, very much learned how to speak up for myself. So I say these things. I don't want to have these conversations. After I just try to, swerve it a little bit. Boom, it's not working. Now I'm going to be direct. I don't want to answer your questions. Yeah, he lasted that was a Thursday night we had that conversation. Friday is when I found out my dad was in a hospital. We went out Sunday, Tuesday. I can't do this. Yeah. I really be trying, y'all, to be nice. So, yeah. I just be so confused, like... But then the thing is, like, he said something like along the lines of, I know we shouldn't talk about sex. So why do you keep asking me sexual questions? I still be trying to be nice. How did emotional intelligence help me overcome shyness? So I think I overcame my shyness first. Yeah, I don't know that the two are related. I wasn't shy anymore by the time I got to this point. I would say I stopped being shy. I think it was a gradual thing. I was definitely still shy in high school. By high school, like, I was cool with, like, my friends, obviously. I think by the time I got to college and I joined my sorority and I was on campus, I think that's when I stopped being so shy and my personality started to come up. So, as a male with an anxious attachment style, how do you make sure it's not a problem? I think you have to work, and this is for anybody, you got to work on pacing yourself. I think you have to pay attention to cues, and not say everything. So for that guy, the reason that I still talk to him after that Friday when he said, well, good luck if I don't talk to you again, because I feel like that could be fair, right? People could have used that to, blow the date off. However, for his sake, he should not have said that to me. Right? He should not have said, oh, I'm sorry your dad is in the hospital. If I don't talk to you, good luck with life. Even if that's what he was thinking, that's the part he should have kept to himself. He should have left it at the, I'm sorry to hear that. Can we reschedule? And waited to see if I reschedule. So this guy wasn't a love bomber. I think those people are different. I don't deal with those people at all. I actually run like from the opposite way with those people. So how do you work on your fearful avoiding attachment style? I think you got to understand what you are afraid of. Like, what is it that you are afraid of? Are you afraid of getting hurt? You can't prevent that. Right? So when I actually was talking to somebody about this in my DMs earlier, and she said that she's scared to be in another relationship. And I said, well, when you are afraid of love, it's really a sign that you don't trust yourself. Because there's nothing that you can do to prevent yourself from being hurt. See you, Faith. Good night. Okay. Love you more. So there is nothing that you can do. There's nothing, literally. There is nothing that you can do. You can't stop somebody from cheating. You can't make anybody acknowledge your emotions. You can't do any of those things. The only thing that you can do is trust that the minute or whenever you recognize that this is not your person, when you recognize that this person is not meeting your needs, you got to know what you need. But once you realize that this person is not meeting your needs, you have to trust that you're going to get out of there. And so it doesn't work. Like, scared money don't make no money, right? I talk to people a lot of times and they got one foot in, one foot out because they're scared. You're not giving your person a fair chance. You have to work on whatever your issues are. And so if feeling secure is a thing, making sure that you don't get abandoned, like, there are things that you can do to see if this person can give you what you need, right? If you, in your past relationships, your person did not acknowledge how you feel, this time you're going to make sure that you pay attention to whether or not this person asks you how your day was. Do they care about what you have going on in your life? Right? There are things for you to look at, depending on whatever your issue is, whatever your fear is, right? There are things for you to look at to see whether or not this person can give you what you need. But you can't make, and so here's the other thing. I also believe in setting yourself up for success. If you know, let's just say, you know, having fun and being friends with your person is something that's really important to you. When y'all going out on dates, go have fun. You want to go out to eat? No, can we go to an arcade instead? Right? You gotta, when I work with my single ladies, like, we talk about setting yourself up for success when you are dating. You have to know what it is you want and need in a relationship. What does emotional support look like for you? And how do you recognize if somebody can give you that? What does security look like for you? What are signs that somebody can give you that? Yes, the class was recorded. It'll be on YouTube as soon as my Christy gets it together. What part about emotional support? It's important. Can you give me some, like, a specific question about emotional support in a long-term relationship or marriage? It's important. So how do you know what you need? Okay. So everybody needs emotional support. It's going to look different. Okay. Emotional support is, like, big for me. That is, like, at one of my top 3 things that I know that I need in a relationship. And so what do I pay attention to? I pay attention to whether or not, when I first meet somebody, do they take an interest in what I have going on in my life? Right? I understand everybody's not going to understand me being an entrepreneur. Right? I have had guys that literally like, oh, I don't know if I can date you. I got to share you. You got a podcast. What? Right? But that lets me know right there that if I have an issue, I cannot come to you if I need something. If I'm stressed out about work because I've been at this going on, 6 years? I feel like I just got into a rhythm. Oh, thank you. I feel like I just got into a rhythm and understanding and all of this. I've been stressed out for a long time. Everybody does not understand it. That means you cannot be my person. If you're going to just tell me, oh, just go back and get a job, you cannot be my person. So you have to really take time and understand what it is that you need. When you're stressed out, when you're sad, when you're angry, what do you need? One, first of all, you got to regulate yourself. But what do you need from your other person? Me, I need a shoulder to cry on. I remember when I was first going to therapy and I was just learning that it was okay to not be okay and that crying did not make me weak, right? I was just learning this. And the guy I was dating at the time, can you give me what I need? I asked him. He said, well, what do you need? I said, sometimes I just need a shoulder to cry on. And he looked me in my face and said, I'm not going to let you cry. What? I thought he was joking at first. He was like, I'm not going to let you, like, tears make you weak. Mind you, I was literally just learning that crying is okay. And he looked me in my face and said, I'm not going to let you cry. Oh, okay. See you later. Bye. I never talked to him again after that. But you have to understand what it is that you need. What are realistic expectations from your partner? I think whatever it is that you need. All right, so ideally, you will pick a partner you got to know what you need and pick a partner. So for me, I don't need a whole bunch, right? Emotional support, somebody I can have intellectual conversation with. We can have fun together. You love the Lord. We live similar lifestyles, and I'm good. All right? Your partner should be able to do everything you need them to do. That is how you should pick your partner. Right? Now, of course, you have to be realistic and honest about what part of this is your responsibility and what they can help with. Right? Your happiness is your responsibility. Your partner cannot make you happy. They can add to it. But that's your responsibility. Like, you can't, that's not realistic. I used to think it was until whatever situation ended. And then I had to ask myself, like, so you just not going to be happy until you get into another relationship? That sounds crazy. And that's when it clicked for me, like, oh, I'm supposed to be already happy. And so I think your partner should meet your needs emotionally, sexually, physically, spiritually, financially, whatever that is, right? That is how you should be picking your partner. And if they can't do it, that probably should not be as long as what you're looking for is realistic, probably shouldn't be your partner if they can't do those things for you. Good night. How do you know if somebody is interested? I ask questions. That's one of the first questions. What type of relationship are you open to? Because I know that I am looking for marriage, and my YouTube name is, everything is under my name, Erin F. Darden. Because I know that marriage is something that I am looking forward to. I am not in the space right now to have situationships. I'm past that. And so one of the first questions I ask, what type of relationship are you open to? Not that I have to be your wife, but I need to know if marriage is on the table for you. This is not, I'm not going to waste my time. But I need to know if marriage is on the table for you. But that's one of the very first things I ask. Thank you. You like my sweatshirt? It's okay to feel. But yeah, that's how you know. And then you ask and you pay attention to their actions. What if one of your needs is emotional reciprocity? So I don't know that emotional reciprocity is a need. Can you give me more? When you say reciprocity, what do you mean? Because I don't think you need for somebody to be reciprocal, because you guys are going to need different things. So you got to give me a little bit more. Do you need your person to be a safe space for you? Like, I don't think reciprocity has anything to do with what you need. What is it that you yourself need? Those are two different things. What they need and what you need are separate. What do you need? You need a safe space. You need somebody to acknowledge how you were feeling. You need and I think some things you just have to test out. You have to start with something small. Dag, I had a rough day today, babe. My coworker or my boss said da 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 da. See how they respond to you. Are they going to tell you to suck it up? Red flag. But reciprocity is not. You gotta think about you. You need help expressing your feelings and your emotions. Do you understand your feelings and your emotions? There's a video on my page with a magic sentence that I used. I even used the sentence we mentioned today, talking about we talked about acknowledging how you feel and not the behavior. And so the sentence that I tell people to use is, I felt like whatever emotion is when you did or when you said. Got to be specific. Moving forward or next time, can you, whatever you need the corrective behavior to be. That means that before you go and talk to your person, you have to know how you are feeling, what made you feel that way, and what you need to be different next time. I think one of the mistakes that people make, and we'll talk more about this when we get to the communication piece, is that people go and talk to their partner too soon. And they don't know what it is that they need or what's wrong. So you have to do that work ahead of time. And when you're able to go and just say, hey, babe, I felt like this when you did this. Next time, can you just do that? What are they going to say? Okay. It's nothing to argue about. Argument of crisis aborted. How do you stop attracting certain men? So my question would be, is it that you are attracting certain men or are you picking certain men? Because you have probably rejected some men and everybody's not going to be the same. So you have to ask yourself about, if it's a matter of what you're picking, what part of you is attracted to that type of man? How do you spot an emotional intelligence in a person? It's a lot. So all of the signs that I gave you about signs that you lack emotional intelligence, the reverse works. Do they acknowledge your emotions, even if they don't agree? Do they take time to see things from your perspective? Do they share with you how they are feeling? Do they apologize? Do they take accountability for their actions? Like, these are just things that you have to pay attention to. What if you haven't controlled your emotions? How can you learn? So first you got to acknowledge them. You got to be able to recognize when things change in your body. A lot of times it's going to be about retrospection, right? It takes some time to get to a point where you can control it in the moment. Because when you are emotional, and I should have said this earlier in class, you cannot be both emotional and logical at the same time. The brain doesn't allow it. Like I showed you the brain picture earlier. The brain doesn't allow you to be both emotional and logical at the same time. Right? And so there are moments, in the beginning when you are first learning and you think back, dang, I shouldn't have done this. Ask yourself, what could you have done better? Or differently? Right? And the more you take the time to look back on things that you've done and think about how, you could have done things differently or handled things differently, you will start to learn and pick up on, okay, I'm angry. Let me walk away. I'm at my limit. Let me be quiet for right now. Let me tell him, hey, I need a second. You will start to learn, but it takes the retrospection. So you can start now. Think about situations that you've had that you maybe aren't as proud of how you handled them. And start asking yourself, what could you have done differently? What triggered you? Why did you react the way that you reacted? What made you say that? What made you do that? Is it because you felt like the person wasn't listening to you? And that made you think about when you were a child and you were never, heard as a child. Right. So it's all going to be about retrospection and thinking about what you can do differently. But it takes time to get to that point to be able to, so even now, sometimes I have difficulty managing my emotions in the moment. And so my go-to, I be quiet. When I feel like I'm getting so worked up, I just be quiet. And that's my go-to. But I'm also not like a yeller screamer. Like, that's not my style. And so you have to figure out what works for you. How can you get over a friendship breakup? It's going to take time. Is it avoiding? So being quiet? So no. So when I get quiet, I am quiet in the moment because I can't regulate. But usually once I get a second, I can come back to it. So I think with friendship breakups, you have to understand what happened. Where's the disagreement? Because sometimes, people just outgrow each other. And I think once you recognize what the issue is, maybe sometimes you can figure out what needs to happen to rectify things. Or you realize that this really cannot, I love this person, but the way that they do this does not work for me. And after that, like I said, once you understand, after that, it just takes time. You're still grieving. You're grieving a friendship, especially if this person was a part of your day to day or your week to week. It's hard. Okay. And so you have to respect that, right? If she did not have the capacity to handle your depression, it is what it is. Even if you would have liked her to be there, we have to be honest with ourselves sometimes. Everybody does not have the capacity, right? Like I have a friend, right? There are times where even outside of mental health, there are times where I just can't. I don't have the capacity, and we have to be okay with that. And so I think if that is the situation, if you are able to manage your depression, whether that is medication, therapy, a combination of the two, and then when you are better, maybe you can go back to her and say, hey, I understand that you did not have the capacity when I was in that space. I have worked on it. I've been to therapy. I'm on medication. I would like to see if we can rebuild, I think that's where you have to start with both first dealing with it. If you need medicine, don't feel bad about it. Been there, done that. Child, been there, done that. And now I take my medicine faithfully. Well, not faithfully, but I take it. Okay, if you don't want to rekindle, that's cool. And you don't have to. Yep, you don't have to. So if you're going to have, again, with any of these attachment styles, right, you got to really get to the root of where it comes from. Right? You got to get to the root of where it comes from and think about what you need instead. Right? If you have a fear of abandonment, where did your parents abandon you? What would make you feel more secure? And how do you what do you need? You refuse medication and finally said, I thought mine was situational too until I realized it wasn't. Because so when I was diagnosed with depression, ADD, and anxiety, all of them, they said, sis, here. So I had just moved to DC. So I'm from Philly. I went to law school in North Carolina. Then I got a job in DC. So I had just moved to DC. The guy I was dating at the time was still in North Carolina. So I was in DC by myself. People don't realize, but as a baby attorney, I wasn't making enough money to live in the DC area. Then he said, this is not what he wants. So now I'm single in a new area. And I thought that was my husband for real. I wanted to be married by 30. I had already given God an extra 5 years because I said 25 at first. So I'm like 30. And then like he broke up with me like 7 months before my 30th birthday. Financially, I wasn't there financially. I wasn't connected to church like I should be. So literally every single area of my life was in shambles. Every single area. Finally go to therapy because I get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah, he didn't even listen to my deadline. Like, how rude. Nigga, I'm pushing 40. Not almost 40, but I'm knocking on 40. Like, I ain't that far from 40. And God just like, but whatever. And so, go to therapy. I don't really like the first one. And then I don't need no therapist. Meet a new guy. He like, why do I have to break down your walls? What? But that was true. I'm like, all right, let me take my behind back to therapy. Go to therapy, find a psychiatrist. I'm like, why do I need medication? I shouldn't need medication. I'm an attorney. I'm smart. I'm I finally took it. I couldn't imagine not taking it. And then, so I had got over the heartbreak. I was making more money now. I'm in therapy. Like, I'm cool. So the last thing was I hated my job. I quit my job. I'm like, I don't need this medicine anymore. Everything was situational. And wasn't. I realized about 2 weeks later that it wasn't situational. So if you need medication, take it, is the moral of the story. My ADHD is untreated right now because they haven't had it. I haven't had it in months, but that's not on purpose. Yeah. Why do you want to be married? The first reason is I'm a Christian and I believe in the covenant. In Christianity, the second part is I'm tired of doing life alone. I do not want to be a long-term girlfriend. I am also an attorney, so I understand the legal implications of being married. I am not going to be somebody's long-term girlfriend. So the first answer is God. I want a person, like I want my person. And so marriage is the only way I would do that. If I had to have kids, I also don't want to do that out of wedlock. So that is why I want to be married. The next class will be next Thursday. Yep, Anna told you. Next Thursday at 8 p.m. I get tired of doing life alone. What does it mean when she said that she stops it before it got out of hand? Before what got out of hand? I don't know that I would try to get an emotionally detached person to open up. That's a lot of work. Yeah, I'm not sure what she meant. So typically class will be about 45 minutes to an hour. So this is after hours. We ended today around 9ish, a little after 9, because we had some housekeeping things to go over. But I said that I would stick around just to talk, hence the drink. But this is not class. Class ended probably an hour ago, and we just been, sitting here talking. Yeah, I'm not sure what she meant by that. Is there another book that you should read? So I am currently reading. So have you read Attached? So Attached is the other one I mentioned today, and then Permission to Feel. Let me show you the one I'm reading right now. Thanks for the gifts, guys, because I am for sure not in the creator fund, so I appreciate it. So this is the one that I am currently reading. Good night. Thanks so much for joining us. You guys definitely do not have to stick around. Class has been over for an hour. I'm just hanging out since you guys are talking to me. So that's the one that I'm currently reading. Yeah, Attached is one of my favorite, favorite. Let me see if I can find. Let me see if it's in one of these boxes in my office. I got literally like stacks of boxes. If it's not in here, that means it's in a basement, and I'm not going all the way down there. But let me see if I can find it real quick for y'all. Y'all might be in luck. Hold on. Y'all might be in luck. Maybe not. No, sorry, guys. No. They must be in the basement. They must be in the basement. I was looking for Attached and Emotional Intelligence 2.0. So all of my EQ books are boxed up because I'm supposed to be moving back to Philly. How do you deal with a person that's scared to be loved and nurtured? I don't know that I would. They sound like a project. So I would have to have an honest conversation with them. They would have to want it. But to the extent we had a conversation and they are comfortable with the way that they are, I don't think I would personally put myself in that situation. Now, if we had a conversation, because right, everybody has their baggage, everybody has their thing. If we had a conversation and they said they wanted and maybe just don't know how, then maybe yes, I might be open to that conversation and figuring out how I can support them, but they have to do the work. But if they are just, I'm not here to change anybody. I'm Bob Lena, the builder around the house. Like, I did my molding and all that, yo. I painted all this. I should show y'all my house. Like, I did. I'm Bob Lena, the builder around the house, but I'm not building up nobody else. It's a lot of work, and I'm not up for it. You started attaching, you're not feeling a constant stories. Is it a lot of stories in attached? Is it? I don't remember it being a lot of stories. Can you fast forward in the book? I don't remember it being a lot of stories. Yeah, Jamila, we just here, just talking. If y'all don't have any more questions, I'm going to go. The reflection question will be posted by Sunday. If you're the email list, you will get the email. Answer it in your journal so y'all can dig deep. If you want more feedback, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I will be doing, exclusive Q&As. I don't know that I'm going to be staying this late every week, but I will show up. If you guys subscribe, I will do an exclusive Q&As and the multi-requests so that we can have like group coaching sessions. If you want feedback on your, all of that, for sure, make sure you subscribe. If you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to go take Bentley outside so he can use the bathroom, and I'm going to go and call it a night. Good night, guys. I will see you next week. Thanks for talking with me. I enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to next week. Good night, guys.